Welcome to the Sacred Rebels podcast. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
We're the podcast that fearlessly dives into the depths of holistic healing. Join us as we empower you to embrace your divine journey, confront sexual trauma, conquer addictions, and rise with confidence with life after trauma. It's time to unlock the sacred rebel within and enter a transformative path to self-discovery and healing.
We are here to trigger you. By shattering stigmas and questioning societal norms, join us as we explore diverse stories of men and women showcasing that there's not one way to heal and the importance of community. Together, we will navigate the evolving human experience, embracing paths to growth and understanding. Let's heal, baby!
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Sacred Rebels. Tonight, buckle up. Just kidding. No, but really. Aim shared her story last week. If you missed it, go catch up. And this week, it is now my turn. So we are going to do that after we do our big deep breath and our card pull.
The card pull's so good. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Close your eyes if it feels good and safe for you. Big inhale, fill up. Slow exhale arrives you in the body, in the space, with an open heart and an open mind. Always feels so good.
I know, I love that thing so much. Unreal. I'm so glad we added that.
So good. So I pulled a card tonight from, I used this deck tonight in breathwork, and it is Unshakable Inner Peace Oracle Card Deck by Shannon Kaiser. And the card was so fitting, per usual. Deep inward journey. You'll be rewarded for the work. How can you alchemize your fear? And as we dive a little deeper into that, not that we actually need to, because there's just so much truth in that, is that you will be rewarded. And the work is hard, and that's okay, but it's so beautiful. One of our fundamental needs as human beings is to be deeply heard, acknowledged, and understood. But so many of us look outside of ourselves to fulfill this need. We chase and climb until we realize that no quick fixes can heal what must be nurtured on the inside. You've drawn this card as a notice that your inner world needs tending to right now. The only way to truly understand your magnificence is by going on an inward journey, and you will always be rewarded for this deep healing. On the other side of work is pure self-compassion, joy, love, forgiveness, and ultimate inner peace. I feel like I was just screaming that exact thing.
The journey tonight was so beautiful, you guys. I think, this is just like a perfect example of God's timing. Is fucking impeccable. It happens when you don't want it to happen, but last night we had a really, really, really cool interview lined up, and scheduling conflicts happened, and she couldn't come last night, so she's coming February 5th, and that was the night I was supposed to share my story, and then last night it ended up having to be like, okay, I'm going to have to share my story now because we didn't have a guest lined up, and I was in no mindset to do that yesterday. Like, I've been like an emotional wreck, just got off my period, so hormonal, and I was like, I need like a day. Aim's like, yeah, it's okay to take a break. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's like the inner voice of like, no, it's not. It's not okay to take a break. She's like, Tay, like, it's fine. We can do it tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. And then she's like, we have breath work right before. Come do breath work, and then we'll do this. And I was like, all right, cool. So that's what we did, and it was beautiful. And I feel so grateful because I think every time I am in a journey, I'm just like, wow, we are so fucking magical and powerful. It's unreal. And then I'm just like, why do I not do the hard things to feel this way? Because, right, like breath work is work. It's not called breath work just because it's called breath work. It's work. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. It takes you a minute to get to like the sweet spot. And, at home, it's a lot easier for me to like tap out quicker than when I'm here in the community and just like feeling all the energy in the room. It's just really exciting. So
And tonight was really, really powerful. And it's honestly, as like I'm teaching, I'm like screaming and yelling. It's like work for me, and I'm not even breathing. I'm like, fuck, it's crazy. Thank God I have the gong. Like, the energy in here in a community breathwork class is palpable. Like the amount of people releasing and feeling and crying and just allowing yourself to let go and, you know, get this stuck, stored energy out of the body. That gong just sends it, and it's just so clearing. You just feel it deep into
It's so
your...
dope. I love the gong.
Yeah.
I literally just want a gong just to have at my house, just to fucking bang when I need my kids to like simmer. I swear to God.
Big gong energy.
It's so good. And even like the beginning, we've gotten so many like compliments on, you know, us adding the gong because it's just like such a good addition. Like it's just like,
It's very grounding.
It's
The
very
body
grounding.
actually physically can't resist the gong for longer than 45 seconds. So if you like really sit there and play it, like you really will feel the separation of your physical body and your spiritual body to realize, you know, because what does vibration do to water? It moves it. So as it moves the energy, you can really feel the separation of the two, that like we are our spiritual, you know, beings disconnected from our physical bodies. And if we can actually align and connect that, then it creates this human experience to be divine.
Yeah, and it is. It's divine.
And we are so fucking magical.
I know, it's wild. It really is crazy what our bodies can do, like the innate wisdom. Come to breathwork, y'all. This is our message. Come to breathwork. Schedule a Zoom with me if you don't want to come in person. I really love the Zooms as well. There's been like questions like, oh, does it still work the same? It still works the same. Like sometimes people prefer it because they're more comfortable in their own space, right? So yeah, it's just preference. But also like when you come into a community, that's also uncomfortable and vulnerable. So you're kind of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, which is also good because you feel the energy of the room and it kind of helps you keep going and not like pull out of it so quick.
And it gives permission, right?
Yeah,
You realize
permission,
that,
that's
holy
what it
shit,
is.
there is people that are feeling the same way that I'm feeling. Like sitting here on a Tuesday night doing weird shit, like 2 rocks and a blindfold. Like what happened? I have to like give this whole spiel about like what's going to happen in your body before it. And I swear people look at me and I like hand them rocks and blindfolds. And I'm like, just trust me. It's going to be great. You're going to scream. It's going to be this whole thing. Your body's going to take over. Your mind's going to shut down. It sounds like, I feel like a little ridiculous saying the whole spiel. It's like almost like an act, right? I have to like...
I know. You got to walk them through it.
Yeah, and make them feel safe and
Yeah.
ready for what's about to happen because it's intense. And so...
Yeah. And then when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, she told me this would happen. So like, I'm safe, right? Like, because all these new bodily functions happen. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
And when people cry or scream and I talk about this, one of my favorite moments ever, after a scream, there was a woman and she screamed, motherfucker. And then everybody was like a ripple effect, just started dying laughing. And it was literally one of the most powerful, beautiful experiences to just see everybody. So it's permission, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. There's other people that are suffering because everybody in the world is going through some shit. Everyone in the world has a story like my story. This is what we were talking about last week. And, you know, we're going to stop ranting about breathwork because we love it so much. And we're going to get to the point of Taylor's story because that's why we are here tonight, to listen to Taylor's experience, strength, and hope and her story, and, you know, base it around healing. And we're doing this to be able to connect to really, you know, and that's along the way. Every single guest that we've had over this past year has been exactly that, just somebody else's story to connect and relate, to realize that we're not fucking alone and everybody's just trying to figure out this weird human experience with all these emotions and all this pain and all this turmoil and all this trauma, because everybody has trauma.
Everybody has trauma.
And all the different pathways that there are, because there isn't just one. There's a million different pathways, and you're allowed to change your mind at any moment and create something new. And, you know, if something works for you for a long time, that's amazing. But if it stops working, that's also amazing, because it's time for you to take the next step up.
Yep.
So.
Agreed.
That's it. So let's go, girl.
And all of my shitty shit led me here. So.
Shittiest shits.
The shittiest of shits. Oh God, here we go. Okay, so obviously there's like just like Aim, there's like people that I have to protect. So there's going to be like minor details that I'm not going to share. But I mean, I'm an open book. So if you want to message me personally and ask about anything, I will always answer. But here goes nothing. So, right, we all have to identify the pain points. I feel like that's what they tell you in the program. That's what they do here in like the healing community. Like, what's your pain point? And for me, I think, you know, my biggest thing through all of the childhood trauma, all of the shit I went through as like a young adult, all the drug use, all the things, it all came down to like two things. Me not loving myself and, you know, having this insane fear of like being seen for who I really am. And the second one being, I'm like terrified of being alone, just like alone in my thoughts, alone in life. I think that's why I have these like irrational fears of something happening to my husband or my kids, like just crazy shit. So when I did the work and when we went through all of these things, my like all of these pain points brought me to like these two root things that I had to really, you know, see them for what they were and then like continue to heal through them. So without getting too much far ahead, I, you know, it's funny, we talked about last week, sometimes we love to focus on the terrible things that happen instead of the good things. And I want to say that even though my childhood was very dark for a long time, it was also like very bright in some spaces. And I have beautiful core memories, and I had the best friends. And, you know, we call each other the wolf pack because like we're still all like so tight today, like to this day, like, you know, grade school kids, like that we all just like grew up together. And I think that came with having such a small community. Like my graduating class was less than 100. My town was so small. We didn't have like stoplights. We had stop signs. The closest mall was like 45 minutes from me. To do anything like fun or recreational, like we literally had to drive 40 minutes outside of our little tiny town to find like a bowling alley or any type of mall or store or fast food. Like my town only had a Dunkin' Donuts that was open like the weirdest hours. So, you know, just not a lot to do. And because my insecurities ran my life as a child, I didn't participate in like sports or anything like that because I had to wear my hair up. And I was so insecure about my ears. And I was made fun of so bad and bullied so bad that I like refused to do any type of like physical activity because all my coaches would tell me that I had to wear my hair up. So I would quit sports like a weekend, and my mom would be furious. But I like wouldn't go, and like I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't follow through. And that was just like the earliest memories of just feeling not comfortable in my body and not secure in my own being, and just like always comparing like, why don't I look like them, or why was I born like this, or anything like that. And that also came from, you know, a father figure in my life who talked fucking terribly to me on a daily basis. So what he said to me became my inner dialogue in my program. Like I was never going to be anything. I was going to be a slut just like my mom, or I was going to grow up and do absolutely nothing and just like be like a lazy piece of shit. Like just the craziest stuff like he would tell me on a daily basis. And this man also was sexually molesting me from, I think, the age, I think because I don't have like cognitive memories like past maybe 3 years old, 4 years old. So I'm not really sure if it started before that, but it happened. It went on until I was about 10 or 11, and I didn't tell my mom about it for like another 2 years after that. I think I was like 13, and I told a friend, and my friend at the time, she was like one of my best friends, was like, if you don't tell your mom, I'm gonna fucking tell your mom, like period. And I finally was like, all right. And again, it was like so much shame and guilt tied to it. And I don't want to get this person in trouble. And the family dynamic of it was so intertwined and twisted and fucked up that I didn't want to like drop a bomb on everyone's life and be an inconvenience. So I kept it a secret for all those years, a really long time. I never was allowed to have friends over at that house. I was never, you know, allowed to have a cell phone and talk to like my middle school crush boyfriends. I remember one time I got caught like texting a boyfriend in middle school, and I like it was the end of the fucking world. He took my phone, said like I was a slut and a whore and this and that. And so the abuse just started really young in the inner program of like me being like, okay, that's all I have is my sex powers. Like that's all I can give. Like I'm I'm not beautiful, I'm not smart, I'm not this, I'm not that. Don't do sports. I'm not athletic. So I was like, I'm going to be the party girl. I'm going to be the party girl and I'm going to be really fucking good at it. And that's exactly what happened. I was the party girl and I was really fucking good at it because in middle school, high school, after I told my mom about the situation and what was going on, I never had to go to this person's house again, obviously. My mom wanted me to bring him to court, register him as a sex offender. And again, I refused to. In hindsight, part of me wishes that, actually, no, I don't regret the way that I handled the situation at all. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I did do all those things. But, I mean, it doesn't matter now. So
I think it's important to, give ourselves forgiveness because, especially in that, it's like you do want to protect your abuser.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird, like you
it's
become.
a weird, and I loved this man. Like I loved this man. He was a father figure to me. I loved him on a very father figure level. So like that was also very confusing, and that I held a lot of shame around. Like how could I love my abuser and how could I allow him to do this to me for so long? So yeah, I'll touch on some of that and all the things that I've learned in EMDR, like with Brecken, because she's really opened my eyes to a lot of the things that I still struggle with in my marriage.
We had talked about it in an episode in season 1 about how you not only protect your abuser, but eventually like the things that are happening to you feel good and you don't,
because your body, your physiological body is like, wow, that's a pleasure point, or wow, that's, because I again, like minor details don't matter, right? But I should say like I was never raped, and I was never like never sexual intercourse had ever happened. So yeah, your body associates those things with pleasure. Because at that young, ripe age, you're learning about your body and you're figuring things out and things are feeling different and, all of these things. So again, a lot of shame around that. And that's what keeps people silent for a really long time. And so...
yeah, because then you're like, wait, like, did I...
You feel disgusting in a way. Like I felt disgusting for a very long time. And...
So if you're at home and this, these things, this is always why we share so vulnerably about this stuff, right? And you're like, wow, like, I don't know if that was what I thought it was, or whatever the shame or the guilt or the blame or whatever it is, that there's freedom in just like being honest and having an understanding that hurt people.
Yeah.
And, when you can look at it as a situation of that, like how can you have compassion and empathy and forgiveness, one for yourself for not knowing how to handle a situation like that, and secondly like to see the person like for what it is.
So after that situation had happened and kind of came to a head and resolved itself by me finally telling my mom, my mom was like going through a divorce, and she was, again, my mom has, I know that she wouldn't mind me saying this, but my mom has a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of similar situations like kidnappings, just drug abuse in a household, like just a lot of like really fucked up shit too. So this is me saying like, I know that my mom did the best that she knew how to do. And in that situation and all of it, she was a single mom trying to make ends meet. She was like working 2 jobs. We never saw her after the divorce. And that was devastating for her. Like the love of her life, like cheated on her with her best friend. And it was devastating to all of us. So she kind of like just boom, took a serious downhill turn. And this was at a time where I was like about to enter high school, and I've got a boyfriend who's 2.5 years older than me, and he's a drug dealer, and I'm having parties at my house every weekend because my mom's gone, like, dating and in the dating world. And living her life how she should, and just not really present. And like, she knows this, and we've had plenty of conversations today, and me and my mom are best friends, and we have the best relationship now. But yeah, she just wasn't present in a lot of the ways I needed her to be, I think, at that age. And that kind of made me grow up a little bit on my own way too fast. Like, I was hanging out with kids that were 5, 6, 7 years older than me, drugs in and out of my house parties all the time, like not going to school, always skipping class, showing up, tripping on shrooms and getting kicked out of school. Like, just, I was the problem child. Like, I was 100% definition problem child. And sleeping around with boys and never in a faithful relationship because, like, never wanted to get too close to anyone to have my heart broken. Just like crazy shit. So that went on obviously all throughout high school. We get to a point of like junior year where my mom met someone and got engaged, and he lived in North Carolina, and we decided to move me down to North Carolina because I wasn't doing well here at home. And we thought like geographical cure was going to fix me. Like, let me just, take me out of this fucking tiny little town and put me in a city, literally a city, and see what happens. And it got worse. In North Carolina, I like got my first tattoo in someone's basement. I got introduced to Xanax. So I was taking Xanny bars all the time, blacking out. Like, I blacked out at the dinner table one time. My mom said she had to carry me to bed. And then the next morning I got screamed at and grounded because I fell asleep in my food, like face down in my food. And I would just, like, the craziest of scenarios, like, I'd wake up in my driveway in my car and be like, how the fuck did I get here? Because you blacked the fuck out. And
well, it's crazy. I actually talked about this in my live, is you don't actually black out, but your subconscious mind, your conscious and aware mind, this is the thing.
Really?
Yeah. So your conscious and aware mind is shut off, but your subconscious is still there.
So I knew how to drive home.
Right, because it's patterns in your behavior. That's like when you're on autopilot, like
Unreal.
when you like move to a new place or something happens and you're driving home and you take the same exit, you're like, fuck, I'm on autopilot. It's actually not autopilot. It's actually just your subconscious mind. So knows what to do because it's patterns and behaviors that live in your subconscious mind. And so your conscious mind shuts off.
Wow.
So that's what happens in a blackout. People drive drunk and then they drive home and they get home and they're like, oh.
What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
So that was like happening all the time. The South has a very, very strict truancy policy. So if you miss over a certain amount of days, they make you stay back and you don't pass your grade. And I had missed, I think, like 27 days there was like 2 semesters, right? First and second. And I missed like 27 days in the second semester, which was like a big fucking deal down there. And they told me basically I failed junior year, and my mom was like furious, and shit had happened with her and this guy. We found out he was like someone who we didn't think he was, and just a bunch of scary shit. I swear sometimes my life could be a movie, but we had to like move out literally when he went away on a business trip, like so sketchy, like had to move out immediately and like leave, hired like a private investigator, all this shit. And I failed anyways. So my mom was like, whatever, let's go back and see if you can graduate and like get the fuck out of here. So I was like, all right, word, I get to graduate with my friends. I get to go back home. And that's what we did. And then when I got home, it was just, I picked up right where I left off, but if not worse. At this point, perks and 80s were like, 80s weren't really around anymore. They were back before I moved to North Carolina, but again, like I just wasn't into that shit. Like I was like a total stoner girl, hippie. Like we used to just trip mushrooms on a Tuesday. Like I loved tripping with my friends. Like we would just take a ton of acid or shrooms and just laugh and have the best time. That's how I got high for a really long time. And then when we came home, I was introduced to opiates, and I'll never forget it. It was like the first time I did a perk 30 after like weeks of like crying and screaming to my friends, like, you guys, this is heroin. Like, this is literally heroin. Like, you're going to die. Like, you're going to get addicted. This is so bad. Like, you shouldn't be doing pills. Like, full blown, like crying drunk one night at a party, like screaming at all my friends because they were in the bathroom, like blowing perks. And, I'll never forget it. I did a half a perk. I got so sick, puked everywhere, and fucking loved how I felt. And I was like, oh God, this is not good.
That's always it, right? It's like so crazy because you
Yeah.
do this substance. It always, every
Makes you
person you
sick.
talk to is like, yeah, I puked my
Sick and
brains out.
itchy. I'm fucking itching everywhere. I'm sick. I'm not talking like myself. My eyes are rolling in the back of my head, but like, holy fuck, it felt like a warm hug. And I was just like, yep, this is a problem. This is going to be a problem. And so I did perks for a while, got through high school, graduated with like 2 less credits. My guidance counselor was a G and just like fucking loved me and was like, I just need you to get the fuck out of here and do something with your life. So like, you're going to walk with your class and like, we're never going to talk about this again. I'm never going to see you again. And I was like, perfect. So I walked with my class and, this sounds so stupid. And when I talk about it now, it's just like, it's so funny to me, but I was so in love with this boy who I was gonna, move to North Carolina with, and I was gonna go to ECU, and I applied and I got in, and we were gonna get an apartment, and it was the summer before I was leaving, and we had been together for a few years at this point, and he was like older, he was like 6 years older than me. And this night after like graduation, it was like a few weeks after graduation, like right before we're about to fucking leave to go down south, he like tells me he's been cheating on me this whole time and that he's in love with this girl who he works with, and like, it just wasn't going to work out. And I just remember being so fucking devastated. It was like 4 a.m. We're like screaming, fighting each other. I left his house and I went straight to, my ex-boyfriend's house, who's still a drug dealer at this point, still doing the same shit, different drugs, harder drugs. And I went straight to his house and I said, I want to try dope. And he's like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I did that night. We were all together. My best friend was there. My best friend Cole was there, who is now dead because of this. And he was just like, Tay, it's different. It's not like perks. And I was like, nope, I want to do it. And I did. And it was just, it was a decision on a temporary emotion, which is what I talk about all the time now, because I'm so impulsive and I used to make these like split decisions on such a temporary emotion. Like if I just would have got through the night, because at this point I hadn't really been doing pills again. Like I did pills for a little bit. I never did them enough to have like a physical dependency at that point. It was just like here and there. And then boom, I got introduced to heroin that night and just fucking straight downhill. I don't need to like go into the details. The next 3 years of that was just absolute chaos. I tried to go to college. I went to Johnson and Wales. After this boy broke my heart, I decided I wasn't going to go to ECU. I was going to stay close to home so I could be around all my fucking homies and, do what I wanted to do still. And so I went to Johnson and Wales in Providence, got through my freshman year, all high honors. And then my second year, I just like didn't make it. I came home for the summer my freshman year and it was so bad. Those 3 months at home were just really, really bad. I was a completely different person by the time I was going back to Johnson and Wales than the year before. And I lasted like 2 months and I was in a house full of like 8 girls. We all got a house together, and I had to like sit my roommates down like right before Thanksgiving break and be like, you guys, I have a serious drug problem. Like I'm dropping out. My mom's coming to get me. Like I need to go to detox, whatever. Because all this time, like I'm in college, I'm working a job, I'm trying to like keep my shit straight and like not be dope sick. Like I'm trying my hardest. So all this time in college, I'm trying my hardest to show up and pass and actually like do something with my life, because I always had big goals and I always had big dreams and I always knew that I was made for more. I can't explain it. Like I've always known that I was going to do big things, but I couldn't get there. And so I call my mom one night. I'm on my way home from work. I'm fucking broke down on the side of the road because I used to run my car on absolute E to go pick up dope in Providence. And I would break down on the highway, and then I would call AAA, and AAA would come and they would fill my tank with like $5 so I could just like get to this dude's house and get home and then figure out how I'm gonna get gas the next day. And so I remember calling my mom on the side of the highway. I'm fucking screaming, crying because I'm like in full-blown withdrawals, like have to go home and see all these girls and get ready to go out. And it was just like exhausting. The whole time that I was in college, I spent my time comparing, wanting to be like everyone else, and just like feeling so like such a fraud. Like I was living 2 different lives and just telling the craziest of stories and lies. Like Aim said, her first escape was lying. Mine was lying too. I used to tell the craziest fucking stories, which again, sometimes you start to believe your own lies. So like I would tell people these stories and then it would just become like second nature. Like, oh, I would tell them I would travel, or I've been to California, I've been here and I've met all these just crazy shit. Like I would make up these like fantasy stories about my life that I actually really wanted to happen that never did happen. So I just knew that I just wasn't cut out for the sorority life in college, and I just did not feel me while I was there. So I told my mom I was ready to go home. She detoxes me at home. This is like 2015. We had no idea what to do. I remember that phone call like so vividly. She was just a fucking wreck. And again, I lied, right? We always tell half truths. So I told her that I got into opiates and I was addicted to perks, but I never told her that I had been doing heroin, because like God forbid she found out that, like that would be like the end of the world, right? So I tell her I have like this prescription pill problem and I need help detoxing. And so she's a nurse. We detoxed at home. We didn't really know what to do at this point. It's like 2015. I didn't realize that there was like AA and people out there trying to get well and trying to do all the things. Like my age, I just thought that was like for old. My two aunts have like, 20 something years in AA, and I knew they had got it, but like it just didn't seem like that was like for me. I don't know. So yeah, that obviously was not a good move. I ended up moving home and getting right back where I left off, if not worse. My mom just no idea. Like she couldn't read the signs. She didn't know what it looked like. I was very good at hiding it for a while. So I kept on working and doing the deed, and then I ended up moving out around like 2016 after I got into a really bad car accident. I ended up like one night I was on my way to work and I worked 45 minutes away from where I grew up, and I was on my way to work in the middle of a snowstorm, and I was so pissed that they were having me come in a fucking blizzard, like literally a blizzard. Couldn't see the fucking lines on the road. It was a blizzard.
Welcome to New England.
Oh my God. They're like, nope, it's not that bad. You're going to come in. I end up driving to this fucking place so mad and just speeding and just acting like a fucking asshole on the road. And I ended up like sliding off the road, hitting a rock wall, and like getting air and landing on my side, and then like rolling 3 car lengths down the road. And thank God that it was such a bad snowstorm, because nobody was on the road, and this was a busy highway when I did this. So I mean, I could have hurt others. I could have killed myself in the process. Like just divine timing and intervention, I swear to God. So I rolled my car. I end up in the hospital with pneumonia and all the things, and I use that as an excuse, because at this point I had been doing like okay, like it was like 2 months. I stopped doing dope, but at this point I was like taking Suboxone like regularly so I could not get high. That's like what I was trying to accomplish, but I was just abusing my Suboxone. So this led me into another relapse at this point. And this was by far the worst one at that point. I had my first overdose. I was left in like a dark, cold shower. My ex-boyfriend at the time literally like panicked, I guess, once I overdosed. He fucking left me in the shower, like turned a shower on, put me in the shower, fully dressed, and tried to go to the nearest CVS to get Narcan. When they didn't give it to him, he called 911 on the way back to the house, and they were there before he got there. And I woke up to like slamming on the door. I like came to in the fucking tub shower. I'm like fully dressed. It was my first overdose ever. I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Well, it was scary because back then, like there was a lot of people that died because you would get in trouble.
You
like,
would get in a lot of trouble.
You were the one that was there with them using, and so that's why people didn't call ambulances or call, because they were afraid they're on drugs, they're high, they're not going to call, like, and then you get greeted by the ambulance, you're judged, you're shamed. So our generation was wiped out. There was so many people that died because
I have 2 friends,
of that.
2 best friends, like 2 of my bestest, closest friends dead because of this. And
I was almost dead too. Thank God somebody screamed. And my mom came over. My mom was next door, because at that time when I was pregnant, I moved into the apartment next door to my parents, and my mom had to keep me alive over my last overdose. My mom had found me blue and had to give me CPR for my last overdose before I went to my
Insane.
last treatment center. Yeah. Like, and thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God that that all went down that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I woke up in this shower and I just remember thinking like, I was literally we were living in a crack house. We were living in our drug dealer's mom's house, and she was like going to the methadone. It was just fucking trash. This place was white trash. And I remember waking up in this fucking shower, fully dressed, like, what the fuck just happened? And I remember thinking, this can't be it. Like, this can't fucking be it. I had to like pull myself together. I fucking run downstairs because I'm fucking hearing this slamming. It's the cops. I'm like, can I help you? I'm literally soaking wet in full wet clothes. And they're like, are you all right? What's going on? We got a call here that someone overdosed. And I like lied straight through my teeth. I was like, nope, I have a Klonopin prescription. I'll go grab it. Like, grabbed my bottle of pills. And I was like, I took too many. Like, you know, I'm so sorry. Like, my boyfriend freaked out. Like, just tried to pull the whole thing, right? Like, pull it off. And then I remember him coming back, and it just so quickly slipped my mind that I could have just died, and we ended up getting high instead. And then that whole few months turned into like, you know, me getting introduced to crack cocaine and smoking crack all the time and smoking meth and just like doing all the things that I told myself I would never do, crossing every line I said I would never cross, and becoming a person that like I truly did not recognize, to the point where like one of my best friends, May, had seen me at a gas station and didn't like, was just like, what the fuck? And I guess called my mom, and or someone else had seen me at the gas station and told May, and May had called my mom. Something along those lines. I forget. But someone called my mom, and my mom had lied to me, and she calls me and she's like, hey, you know, my heart aneurysm's back. It's real bad. Dee's about to leave for the Marines. Like, we really want you to come home and just like spend the night with us, and then you can do whatever. And I hadn't seen my mom in like a few months at this point, because when I get high, I like to run. I don't want anyone to see me. I like to hang out with my piece of shit white trash friends who are all into drugs too. And I live a double life, because I always like would waitress and have waitressing jobs, but the people at my waitressing jobs were all like, you know, productive members of society, and like didn't know what I was doing at home or on the side. I mean, I'm probably sure they knew I looked fucking terrible, but
it's so funny when you look that shitty and you think you have it all together, and you're like,
bro, no eyebrows, scabs all over my face, like, okay.
Yeah, and you're just like lying through your teeth. People are like, you're all right. You're like,
gray.
I'm just so
You're
tired.
literally gray. Like, all my old pictures, I'm gray.
Yeah.
Like, you have no color.
And you're like,
I'm
eyes aren't
so
ever
tired.
open. Yeah, I'm just so tired.
I didn't sleep last night. Dude, unreal.
Like, how many times, and my parents would know my voice.
I
They would
know.
know instantly by my voice.
Same.
If I picked up the phone, they would be like, yeah, you're high. And I'd be like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about? Like, I
Yeah.
was just,
You
know,
sound like you're
talking.
out of breath.
Yeah,
It's like you're grasping for air.
Because you are.
Yeah,
Because
you
you're not
literally are,
breathing.
'cause
Because
you're not
everything is slowed down.
Down.
And you're just like, am I alive? Completely numb to the world. And that's, you know, that's why
Yep.
you choose that drug, because that's what it does.
It numbs you.
completely numbs you. And when you have that
Completely
kind of
numbs you.
pain and you have that kind of trauma and you don't know who to lean on, and you
Yep.
live in that much sadness and shame and guilt and blame, and it just takes it away for a little while.
Yep. Until it doesn't anymore.
Because you chase that first high, you chase that first throw up forever. You know, you
Forever.
never, ever, ever get that same experience. It's the same
Nope.
thing with crack. It's the same thing with like the first hit. You just spend hours just chasing that first high, and the rest of it, you're just like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?
I know.
And it makes you feel so
It's a rat race.
disgusting.
You're literally in a rat race the whole time. The hustle of it, the lifestyle, the high, the lows, like the low lows. Like, oh my God,
chaos.
suicidal lows. Like, you hit dope sick. I was like the biggest bitch dope sick too. Like, I would fucking cry, kick and scream on the floor till like my boyfriends or my drug dealers would like give me what I wanted, even if I didn't have money. Like, just truly like the biggest little bitch. And
Well, it hurts.
yeah,
you
it
really
hurts.
feel like you're dying.
You really think you're dying. And
Everything hurts. You can't
the
eat,
restlessness
you can't
in your
sleep.
body, like feeling the need to just like stretch and like, oh my God, like spiders crawling in your vein. I can't even explain it. It's terrible. I literally still have like PTSD to this day. Like, if I get sick or like a runny nose or like fucking the yawns or any type of fever, I'm just like, like,
I can tell you, if you want to see a movie, the movie Geo with Angelina Jolie, she's a heroin addict model, and she, like, you can watch that movie and you're like, wow, did Angelina Jolie get high?
I
Because,
know.
like, she really did a great job at, like,
Another
what
another
real.
really good one too is 7 days later, or 7 days later, with Mila Kunis and her mom, and like the story of how she gets clean and her mom detoxes her. That's like literally me and my mom's story to a T, I swear to God. So, anyways, this goes on. I end up losing my job after this overdose. I end up crashing my brand new car that I had just got from my insurance money from totaling my other car in that car accident. I fell asleep at a red light and I smashed into a woman, and she got out of her car and was fucking screaming at me and was like, "I watched you nod out at the wheel, blah 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 blah." And I don't even know how I got out of that one either. And I did. And then this whole situation was just like a week. It was like a week leading up to this. Like everything just started going downhill, downhill. I lost my job. I crashed my brand new car. Someone saw me at the gas station, called my mom or my best friend. And then my best friend called my mom. And then my mom's like, "Oh my God, your brother's leaving. And we really want to see you." So I was like, fine, fuck it. I'll go home for a night. I go home for a night, bringing a 50 bag with me, knowing that like I'm going to be sick in the morning if I don't bring someone with me. But I was only planning on staying there this 24 hours. Like, this is it, Mom. I'm coming for the night. I'm fucking leaving in the morning. I have work. I get there. Of course, I knew what it was. I think subconsciously I wanted to be there, and I knew what I was driving into, and I was still okay because a part of me was ready to like give it all up. But then another part of me, like, you know, your fight or flight side brain is just like, "Oh my God, no, you have to get high. You have to survive. You have to get high. You have to survive." So I get there. I do all the drugs that I brought with me that night. Of course, she takes my keys while I'm sleeping that night. Brings me down in the kitchen the next morning. It's like fucking intervention style. They're all like, "You have a serious problem. You need to go to treatment. I've called some places for you. All you have to do is make the call yourself. Like, you know, you're 18 now. You have to do it on your own." Blah, 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 blah. And I end up at Phoenix House in Keene. That was like another divine intervention moment. So many places that we called had like 3-month waiting lists, and Phoenix House had just had a bed open like that day. And they were like, "If you can get her here in the morning, she can come." And my mom's like, "Perfect. I'll cancel work. I'll bring her." So those next 24 hours were fucking miserable because I was coming off so many drugs. And she brings me to Keene. It's like 3-hour drive from my tiny little town in Wolfboro. Literally a 3-hour drive. It took us maybe 4 hours because we had to stop every few miles because I was like puking and shitting like uncontrollably. It was terrible.
Mine was the
That
same.
ride was so bad.
Mine was the same, but I had gotten so high the night before, and I was so sick and like just throwing up because I had gotten so fucked up the night before. My poor mom, she drove me. Mine was only like an hour and 15 minutes, but I'm like, "Mom, you gotta pull over. Like, I gotta puke. I gotta puke."
Yep.
I'm like, I ate bad food. I remember still lying. Like, she's driving me to rehab.
Do detox.
Like, do detox.
I'm
You're
not
like,
high, I swear.
like, it's food. Like, why? Like, the deep rooted lies in that moment. Like, you couldn't just be honest for a second. She was driving you to rehab. Like, just
Unreal.
like poor parents.
I know.
Like,
So I got to rehab, and they didn't give me shit for meds. They gave me comfort meds, fucking Tylenol and a Gatorade, and said, "Here you go. Go take a nap." And
Could you smoke then? Because this was like 4
No,
years
we had
after.
Yeah, we had cigarette breaks, but it was at an allotted time.
Yeah,
and
that's how most
so
places are.
the first 2 days I spent in my room. Like, I didn't come out of my room. I had never been to rehab before. I didn't know what this whole situation was. I just like didn't know how to act, what to do. I didn't realize we were supposed to like get out of our rooms and go to groups and stuff. And so around like the second night, someone had come into my room and they were like, "Listen, tomorrow morning, it's time for you to get up and come out, or we're going to have to like have you leave." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about here? Like, I'm literally here to detox." They're like, "No, you're in a 28-day rehab program, and you're going to do the program. Like, you're going to do all the classes and the groups and stuff." And I was like, Jesus Christ, okay. So I guess I didn't really realize what my mom was bringing me to. I thought she was literally just like, I was going to this detox and then I was going to leave. And that's not what it was. I ended up staying the 28 days in treatment, and it was such an eye-opener for me. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about addiction. I learned a lot about trauma. I met
Did
the
they
most.
bring you to yoga across the street?
I met the most beautiful people. That's where I really fell in love with AA and the community, and saw like that glimpse of hope of like, oh wow, there are kids my age and people my age like actually trying to get this and do this and better their lives, and holy shit, this is like beautiful. And just so many like light bulb moments there, and God moments that just unexplainable things kept happening, and I was like, oh my God, this is where I'm meant to be. And then like my guidance counselor ended up talking to my mom about sober living afterwards. So I ended up going to sober living in Maine, in Portland, and had like a beautiful experience in Portland. I was so fucked up though, like seriously so bad. I got kicked out of my first house because I was just boy crazy. I didn't want to follow any rules. I was so like any type of like authority, or I would never listen to authority. Like I was just like blatantly fucking disrespectful and rude. And I had my car there and I had my phone, and this house was so strict. Like we had to complete all the 12 steps before we could even like go out and do shit, like talk to guys or anything like that. And of course I didn't listen and got kicked out like a month into it. Luckily got moved into a house down the street. But not luckily actually, because this house had a lot less rules. I didn't have a curfew really. They didn't do piss tests, like none of the thing, like it was a brand new house. They had literally just opened and they were figuring it out. And we did whatever the fuck we wanted. And it was all the rejects. I swear to God, the rejects from the house that I was just at moved into this house. So then we were just like a bunch of sick, unwell humans with a shit ton of trauma, causing a ton of fucking harm and chaos, not giving a fuck about anyone or anything that's going on in this little community, and just fucking wreaking havoc.
Well, here's the thing about that too, is people have such high expectations, and this is education, right? Mm-hmm. So your parents or whoever you are, if you have an addict in your life or anybody that's using those things to escape, they've had some kind of trauma and they've been running it for so long, and they've allowed drugs and alcohol and stuff to run their life, and we've made shitty decisions for probably potentially a really long time. So you don't just get to go to rehab for 30 days and like go to a sober living and you're expected to just know how to be a functioning adult. You literally have to reprogram yourself, and it will take years. And this is why we talk about it.
They say it takes a full year just to have your dopamine receptors grow back in your brain after drug use. Like a full year. Yeah. Think about that. 1 whole year.
So you need love. You need support, you need forgiveness, you need compassion, you need empathy, you need to let go of the pain, the things that had caused them, throughout their addiction, those things, and just really love the addict and the person that had suffered trauma, because addiction is based in trauma. Yeah. So the person in recovery needs to recover from that. And this is why we talk about, it's really important that we say that how long we both stayed completely sober and completely abstinent for so long, because you need that time to really clear your mind and really feel all the stuff that you've been using the alcohol and the drugs to numb. Yep. Everything that you numbed, you now have to re-feel to heal. That's the healing process. That's the work. And you will be rewarded for the work. That's the inward journey. But until you do that work, you're going to create the same patterns, the same behaviors, the same toxic shit. You don't just remove the alcohol and all of a sudden the person's going to be this 5-star human being, because it's not going to happen. You have to completely rewire the neural pathways as you're feeling, as you're processing all these emotions, as you're also learning how to be now a productive member of society, because you've just been ripping, running, stealing, cheating, lying, living a double life, whatever it was that you were living. And now all of a sudden you have to be...
You have to get a job. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to pay bills and rent and
or be a mom.
Yeah. Or be a mom. Like just crazy shit.
Just figure out.
And a lot of the girls in my house too, right? Like this is why I have such like a like love-hate with sober living, because I think it could be really beneficial for some, but I also think it could be really damaging for some. And I think for me it was very damaging, because I came into this place not knowing about half the stuff I guess that was like out there and that you could do. And I had never shot up at this point. I had never used needles, and I didn't have kids, and I had never sold my body for drugs, and I wasn't homeless, and I still had all my just all the stupid fucking stereotypes that they say like what drug addicts are and stuff. And I move into this house, and every single woman in the house that I was with was an IV heroin user. And they all would just like romanticize during like circle time about how good it feels to shoot heroin. And I remember thinking, like, literally thinking, like, oh, I'm not done yet. Like, I have to leave here and go experience that for me to be done. That's the fucked up thinking that goes on in your brain in the first few months of sobriety. Like, oh, I'm not fucking done yet because I'm going to go shoot heroin because I want to know what it feels like. Then I'm going to come back and say that I belong here. Like, what? It's fucking crazy. So that's what happened in Portland. I'm in this house. I pick up my 90-day chip. I come home and I tell all the girls, I want to shoot up. And they're like, what? Like, literally, I remember my roommate looking at me and being like, dude, what? And then me fully knowing about how damaged and broken she is and taking advantage of that, knowing that she won't tell me no, and her being like, okay, fuck it, let's sneak out and do it. So once we did that, it was just straight downhill from there. I met a guy, moved in with him, the classic fucking rehab romance story. Move in with him. We're shooting drugs. Those 3 months were hell. I had overdosed like 6 times, ended up with Hep C, and the last overdose like nearly killed me. I was in my mom's living room, and I had at this point, this boyfriend that I was with at the time was like, basically like, no, like, I'm sending you back to your mom's because I can't even get high with you. Like, you just keep dying. Like, literally, we used to carry Narcan because every time I would get high at this point, I think my body was shutting down. He would have to stab me in the thigh with a Narcan because I would literally go out every single time. And this is like when fentanyl started coming around. So fentanyl was around and it was a lot stronger, and I thought I could handle it. And obviously I couldn't, my tiny little body. And I was just like so malnourished, and literally like my body was shutting down. And so he was the one to be like, it wasn't even me. Like, I wasn't even done yet. Like, he was like, no, I'm sending you back to your mom because you're going to die, and I can't handle getting high with you because it freaks me out. And so he sent me back to my mom's, and my, one of my old friends at the time who I was getting drugs from all the time back when I was home, I ended up texting him. I was home, and me and my mom, like, this is what's scary about addiction and your mindset and what goes on in your brain and just like the survival mode of it. It's like the night before my last overdose happened, I sat on the couch with my mom just like this. We sat this close, face to face, and I cried to her for an hour and a half, showing her my arms and telling her that I had like recently just started using needles, and it was like a big deal for me to like be that honest with her, because I had never in my life been that honest about any of the use that I was doing. Like, still, like, I would hide details and like not tell her the full truth. And we just sat and we cried and we hugged and we held each other. And I was just like, Mom, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I literally think I'm crazy. Like, I can't stop no matter what. Like, I've been trying. I can't, I literally can't stop. And she was like, we're going to do this together. We're going to get through this. And that was the night before my last overdose. The next day, I wake up dope sick, and I'm on the couch, and I'm trying my hardest not to call this person that I know is who's going to come straight to my house if I call him. I'm trying my hardest. I end up going like all day long, like literally all day long. I end up finding like a bottle of Xanax in my mom's room and taking like half the bottle, literally passing out, like knocking myself out, sleeping the day away, waking up at 4:00, dope sick again, looking at the clock, knowing my mom's going to be home from work in like an hour or two, and thinking, oh my God, if I'm going to get high, it's going to be right now, like before she gets home from work. And I call him, he comes. I end up doing way more than my body can handle. And at this point, I had forgot that I had taken all those benzos. So I was still like, my heart rate was still so low anyways. And I did this bag, and I went straight out in my living room. I woke up to like EMTs and just like police officers in my house, and like my whole shirt cut open. I was like naked. They had a drill in my bone marrow, and I had like I had stuff all over my arms because they were trying to hit a vein and they couldn't hit a vein, and so that's why they did the drill. But the really crazy thing about this drill is that this was new. And the woman was saying that it was like a military technique that they were trying to bring around because fentanyl, again, at this time was like running high and none of the Narcan doses were working for the fentanyl overdoses. So she said that they had nasal Narcaned me 3 times because they couldn't hit a vein, and I wasn't waking up. It had been like 11 minutes and they were about to pronounce me like brain dead. And the woman came in with the drill and drilled into my bone marrow, into my shoulder. I still have the scar. And I immediately like woke up, and when I came to, I thought I had broke my arm. Like I couldn't move my arm, and she was like, screaming for me to stay laying down because I immediately tried to like sit up. And they were just like, I think they all were like in shock because they were like, can you feel your fingers? Can you feel your toes? Like, how many fingers am I holding up? Do you know what day it is? Like, do you know your name? And I was like talking and walking and completely fucking fine. Like I was still so fucked up, but I was like, fine. And we get to the hospital, and I still don't think I like understood the severity of it until my mom showed up. And then the doctor came in and was like crying with my mom, and he was just like, I have a daughter your age. Like I can't even like comprehend like how you're not brain dead right now. And there's like, it's nothing short of like a miracle. And so that was like the moment. That was it for me. Like that was, everybody asked me like what I experienced in that near death experience, and I can't explain what I experienced. All I can remember is like the cliche bright white light and feeling so much warmth and love, and knowing that like my friends and my family who passed along were like there with me. Like I can't explain it. Like I felt their love and their embrace, and I was just so like, I can't explain it. It was so beautiful in like the most fucked up way. And so that situation pushed me to really like get on my feet, do the work. After that, I promised my mom that I would get on the Vivitrol shot. I got on Vivitrol for about a year. For those who don't know what Vivitrol is, it is an opiate blocker. So you get a shot once a month right in your ass. It's not pretty, it's painful, but it was an opiate blocker, and it was something that like I wasn't going to get addicted to, like Suboxone or methadone, which I had tried in the past and it didn't work for me. And I just wanted something to like keep me on my feet and keep me sober for a certain amount of time so I could like get through the work, find a sponsor, and like start healing a lot of the shit that I knew I needed to heal from. And so that's what I did. I got on the Vivitrol shot. I lived with my mom. I traveled around. I met Dill. I met my husband at a meeting. And it's actually a really funny story. One of my gay best friends at the time, we were at this meeting, and he was like, he thought Dill was hot, and he's like, you got to introduce me. I was like, no, I don't even fucking know who this is. Like, I'm not introducing you. Go introduce yourself. And he's like, no, you're hot. Like, just go ask for a cigarette or something. So I remember we were on smoke break because everyone in AA, like Chief's butts and, drinks Red Bulls like they're fucking going out of style.
I remember being like, I'm going to smoke cigarettes for the rest of my life. I will never
not smoke cigarettes.
Smoke. And I'd like ripping Marble Reds and fucking drinking Red Bull and like downing coffee. It's
literally.
Like, wow, it was so, your bodies, you're craving sugar. You're craving
sugar, caffeine, like, oh God.
And I'll tell you how I quit smoking was with breath work, because when you think about it, all you're doing when you go outside and you smoke a cigarette or you hit your vape, you're taking a big deep breath. So that's how I quit smoking. I was pregnant with Xavier, and I'd put my hands on my knees, and I would just I would go outside and I would just take big fucking deep breaths.
I love that.
Who would have thought?
I love that.
Right?
Yeah. So obviously I met Dill. I go outside. I run outside. I'm like, hey, can I grab a cigarette? What's your name? I'm Tay. This is my friend Adam. And then nothing comes of it. Like, he doesn't add me on Facebook. He doesn't message me. He doesn't like any of my shit. I'm like, this kid's like so uninterested, doesn't want any fucking thing to do with me. And time goes by, and one of my friends was driving his truck one day, picked me up for lunch, and I sent him a like little snap of me in his truck, and I was like, wow, I look good in your passenger seat. He's like, yeah, you do. Maybe you'll let me take you out sometime. That started that relationship, and me and Dill just, we were best friends at the time. And I was like dating some like guy that was like 17 years older than me. Had no business dating this dude, but again, I was like newly sober, and he was stable, and he was a tattoo artist, and he had his shit together, and he had money and was just like treating me well, and again, daddy issues. So I picked this one out of the bunch and just like ran with it. And obviously it was toxic, and me and Dill stayed best friends for like 4 months, and he was like, I had never had a guy friend like Dill. Like, he was so respectful, never crossed boundaries, never hit on me, never like, when I tell you, like, the most innocent friendship, like, truly, with a guy that I've ever had, like, just no idea this dude loved me. Until finally it came to be like 3 months into us being friends, and then he was just like, dude, I can't be your friend anymore. I'm fucking in love with you and you're an idiot, and like, don't you know there's guys your age that would love to like have you, and you don't have to date a fucking geriatric fuck who is like a weirdo. And I'm like, okay. So that was all I needed to hear. And I immediately moved in with Dill. This was like 2017, beginning of 2017, immediately moved in with Dill. Everyone thought we were going to relapse. Everyone doubted us. Everyone literally was like, you're fucking crazy. You guys are going to be getting high in the next 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. And I can't explain it. And it sounds so cliche, but like, I knew when I met Dill, it was going to be different. Every single part of my being felt safe and seen in a way that I had never have felt before. And I just knew that it was going to be different. And we have the most, beautiful relationship today. We obviously are still together. We're married. We have 2 kids now, and we both just celebrated 7 years clean.
I never said that you guys were going to get high.
I know, we never did. I met Aim shortly after I moved in with Dill because I moved to southern New Hampshire from Wolfboro. So I was in a whole different like community of like AA and young people. And so I remember meeting Aim at like a Nashua meeting one night. She was sharing, and I just remember crying, like listening to her story and being like, holy fuck, like someone actually who gets it, has like similar background. And
our
like,
stories are the same. Like
Yeah.
rolling cars, like, just, like
very, very the same.
So the same.
Yeah. So I just remember being like, okay, she's someone that I know I can look up to, who can help me, who can get me through the work. Because at this point, I couldn't find a sponsor that I either related to or like felt like seen by or not judged by, or like I had a lot of shitty shit that like I was scared telling some of my sponsors, like, oh, they're gonna judge me, or like, and I knew when I met AIM, like, this bitch is not judging shit. Like I could literally tell her everything. Number 1, she's a steel trap. Number 2, she's probably done worse, if not more. So I'm like, okay, this is my person. I found her. It's great. We went through the steps. We got through them. It was beautiful. I read my 4-step to her. It was like fucking 6 notebooks, something crazy. It took us fucking all day. Wild. And
that's the most beautiful part about, the 12 steps. And I always say that even if you're not, I do think that the 12 steps, if you just go through them, are such a beautiful spiritual tool. Like
really
getting that stuff out. I don't really love the character defects, the shame, the guilt that comes along with it. But when you really go inward, it's when you find those deep pain points. You figure out your core wounds, your core issues, the behaviors that you keep repeating over and over again.
Yep.
You allow yourself to get rid of the resentments. I think in some of it that it's a lot of sponsored lineage that does that whole thing where like you have to find your part in every single thing, and
including
like
the molestation. Like, what's my part in it? Even though I was like a little innocent girl, like that, I had a really hard time wrapping my mind around that, which I had to like deprogram after the fact with Brecken in therapy.
But even I would say it was more if because I never agreed with that too. Like in step work, I would be like, well, you kind of have to just find the behaviors and the things that you created from feeling this type of way, feeling, you know, like unworthy, unloved, unseen, unvalued, that you have to see that you go on now to find those people or reflect your pain onto people, and you don't see and you don't value people. And then you become a mirror, so you're going to find people that are going to dig into your insecurities, and you're going to find people that your insecurities get to dig into, create this toxic creation of sickness, of being like, oh, I'm going to mirror my pain and you're going to mirror my pain, and then we're just going to be miserable but think it's love, and toxic, and just this crazy sickness that happens in that, until you do the work and you get the freedom to be like, I don't have to behave that way, and I deserve better, and I'm, not a reflection of how other people treat me. That's a reflection of them.
Yeah. And after we had gone through the work, I remember being on my amends, and I was like, I don't know when this was, like I was like 2 years sober at this point, almost 2 years sober. And I just remember feeling like I needed to get something off my chest. I needed to write my abuser, and I needed to write him a letter, and I needed him to know, because after I had stopped seeing him, it was never talked about again. Like, I just stopped seeing him. He fucking knew why I stopped seeing him, but we didn't like address it. We didn't talk about it as a family. We didn't, like, nothing came of it. He had no consequence, like, at all. Like, got away with it, and that was just still so on my mind, and just like really keeping me sick, and just so angry that I wanted some type of acknowledgement and recognition from him. Like, I know what you fucking did, and I listed out the things, like, you are wrong here, and how fucking dare you treat me like that. I was a child and I loved you, and all the things, and now because of you, I have a really hard time, like, being intimate in my relationship with my husband, who fucking loves me, and all of the things, right? Like, wrote this like big long letter, getting everything off my chest that I needed to say to him, not even fucking expecting like a letter back or not expecting a response. And he immediately, you guys, like, when I say like within minutes, wrote back to my email, apologizing for his part, and that he was so obsessed with my mom, he took it out on me, and just like gave me everything I think I needed. And that was enough for me to be like, okay, like, he acknowledged me, he apologized, he was very fucking sick. He even said that, like, he had a lot of childhood trauma and things happened to him. Not an excuse, but like, still trauma and pain. Everybody has the same pain. And so it was really what I needed to like kind of be like, okay, now I can move forward in my healing, because I think I was still so stuck at that point. And I had, you know, me and Dill were having like a little bit of trouble in our relationship. Like, I was having a really hard time being intimate, and I just, yeah, my husband's a saint. Also, side note, he will be coming on here and we will be doing an interview. He is very open and willing to do so. I think we really need to hear from someone's point of view who's with someone who had childhood sexual trauma, because he really is a saint. And the amount of shit that I have put him through and that he deals with is just unbelievable. But this was like 2 years in, right? So like, I knew this man was like gonna stick around, because this was like 2 years into our relationship, before we had kids and all of it. And like, we were starting to have like problems with me and my trauma, and I would tell him and I would cry, and he would just love me through it all. And so then after that, it kind of sparked this interest to do other therapies outside of the program and what I was in. AIM had been doing EMDR, so I took a little peek around the area and ended up finding Blue Lotus and ended up loving it. I saw a woman before I ended up seeing Brecken, and I did it for about like 6 months, and then I ended up getting pregnant with Kanan, and I completely stopped working on myself, which probably wasn't smart, but I just like completely stopped working on myself. I was so excited to be a mom, kind of focused on that, had my son, and AIM was in the room for that.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful. I've been so blessed over my years through a lot of sponsees. I think I've been a part of 6 births. Taylin's birth of her babies, besides COVID, took a couple births away from me. But in one of my lives, like later on when my kids are older, I will definitely be a birth doula. I absolutely love
She has such a calming presence. Like, I needed her in the room. Like, everyone was pissing me off. My husband, like, Dill was pissing me off. My mom was pissing me off. The nurses were pissing me off. And then AIM just came in with her fucking oils and my mala beads. And I was like, yes, this is what I need right now.
Yeah, literally. That's what I need in all the chaos, too. You know, the malas, like, hold the energy, and you can use your hands and the essential oils and all of it. And breath work, right? Yeah. We breathe. That's the malas classes. Think about it, you know? So,
yeah. So, yeah, she was there for that, and that was a really traumatic birth.
Oh, my God, the triceps.
Oh, God. Forceps.
Yeah. But it was like triceps, guys. They pulled his head out with pliers.
Yeah, it was bad. I had a forceps delivery, and they had to cut me front to back, and it was just... My recovery from that was brutal, and I was a first-time mom, and everything was so confusing, and my son wouldn't latch because I have flat nipples, and like I don't have like, you know, the best breastfeeding nipples, they said, and he wasn't latching, and I was just crying. I felt like a failure. I couldn't console him. Like, he felt my anxious energy. I was in so much fucking pain. I couldn't walk for like the first month and a half of my like, no, not even like exaggerating. Like, it was bad, like to the point where people had to like hand me my son because I couldn't like get off the couch.
And that's the other thing too, and I remember this because obviously I was there, and you got painkillers, and you get sober, and then you do these things, and you get this fear instilled in your mind that
That you can't take painkillers.
that you can't take painkillers, and that you can't do this, and that if you take one, you're gonna just go down this path and die and shoot heroin again, and I had to coach her through that, and be like, no, like, you're in actual pain.
You can
You're
take the painkiller.
allowed to do that. That's what they're for. You have the support. You're doing the right things. Like, you are allowed. You don't have to sit in this pain because you were once an addict and now you're not.
And obviously I wasn't abusing them. So they were doing what they were supposed to. They were taking the pain away, and I wasn't getting fucked up off them. Like, they were literally just taking the pain away.
And you just have to be honest and open, but people and the fear-based, and that's what that is. The biggest problem with the 12-step, it's so fear-based, and people don't have the ability to not suffer in pain, or they'll do these things. And I mean, I did multiple surgeries without painkillers. I did a breast surgery. I got my tubes tied. I had my gallbladder out. I got them during the surgery, but I didn't take any after. I took edibles. So there is ways if you don't want to, but you can if you need them. That's the message. Just because you're an addict, like, don't suffer in pain. Like, you can take them and be fine. You're not going to like go and shoot heroin right after.
No, I was very open and honest about that whole situation. And
you did it. You took them for a couple days, and you were fine. I took them for a couple
days, and then I got over it. And then I just started taking ibuprofen 600 for like fucking weeks. But yeah, that was like the start. Kanan was the catalyst of my desire to want to better myself, because I knew that I still had all this shit and all these like my little inner child was still like longing for me to remother her and like love her unconditionally and help her heal through all of this, so I could be the best, most present, loving mom to my child. Because even at such a young age, like, I couldn't understand why I was getting so angry at my son for crying. Like, if I would hear him cry, like, it would make my blood boil, and then I would just like psych myself out into thinking like, oh my God, I don't have the mother gene. Like, I'm not supposed to be a mother. Like, oh my God.
I remember those calls too.
Yeah. Like, just like total head case, you guys. When I tell you, like, I'm the queen of spiraling, if I get one thought into my mind, that's it. It's a wrap. I'm going down. So I would tell myself the most insane shit, and I knew like something had to change, because I couldn't keep living like this, and I couldn't keep putting my husband through this fucking up and down. He tells me I've got 7 personalities, and he never knew which personality to expect. So I was like, yeah, it's time for me to like seriously like take a look in the mirror and like do some deep rooted shit. And I am very lucky. See, like, this is another beautiful thing, right, about my childhood. And I just want to touch on this because my mom brought me into this world, and into the spiritual world too. Not just like this metaphysical world, but the spiritual world. As a child, my mom was very into oracle cards and angels and drum circles, and used to bring me to the most epic, like, Indian circles, like Native American circles with her Native friends, and we would go to these like channelers, and we would watch people channel spirits, and it was dope. Like, I saw dope shit really young, and so it kind of opened my mind into all of this like spirituality, and like I knew that is what I believed in. Like, I knew there was something greater than myself. I never had a problem with that. So I think that's when it kind of sparked that flare in me to be like, okay, I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm going to go back to what I know. I'm going to go back to my cards and my breath work and getting centered and getting, in my body and doing things that I love and that I believe in and that I know that take care of my spiritual condition. So that's what I did. And I started doing EMDR and doing all the things. And, fast forward past Hayes's birth. Hayes came. It was so beautiful. Hayes was really like the everything I think I never knew I wanted or needed. Like, having a little girl can be so triggering sometimes, especially as someone with childhood sexual trauma. I think I really had to step into a different role of like being a mom when I had Hayes. Like, it was almost like I was reliving my trauma through every stage I saw her in, because like I don't know how young the trauma had started. And so I would see her doing these things, and I would think about a man like doing something to her, and it would fucking kill me, and it would infuriate me, and like just I was being triggered in ways that Kanan wasn't triggering me. Kanan was triggering me in ways that, ultimately led me to heal before Hayes came. But then when Hayes came, it was like, okay, like shit's not working, something's going on, like, you know, this is crazy. We had a beautiful wedding. And now like me and Dill have the most beautiful life. We're not perfect, and I think that's what's so beautiful about us. Like at the end of the day, we are such good best friends that we will always make it out of any bad or tough situation. And I truly just feel so grateful that I have a man who loves me so unconditionally that I could literally put him through anything and he will just about do anything to stay and comfort me. So I just feel really grateful, but I also just really want to make it known that because I'm in the situation where, you know, I'm getting my breathwork certification and I'm up here and I have a podcast and I do all these beautiful things and I have 7 years and I have this beautiful home life. You know, that's what everyone always says. You have the perfect house and the perfect kids and the perfect like relationship. It's like, no, like I still struggle so bad, you guys, like on a daily basis. And I think that's why it's so important for me to say that like healing isn't linear and it's okay to go through some really shitty things still, because there's still some little parts of me, like in little Tay, that like doesn't believe that I'm worthy of this life or that I'm worthy of this love, and I'm working through it. But I think that's my biggest like pusher. Like drive Dill away from me because I just don't believe that like I deserve his love. So like I'm going to keep testing him and see how far I can push him, because he's always going to come back. That's like the sick, like I talk about this with Brecken all the time. And I just feel so grateful for Brecken. I graduated EMDR like a couple months ago. Like I was going twice a week and we reprocessed all my negative memories, which was just so incredible. I finally am at a place where I don't feel it in my body anymore. Before I would think about a memory and I would have like an actual visceral reaction to like the point of like chills or making me want to vomit. And I don't have that anymore.
And we talked about that. There was actually a couple of the girls that were in breathwork tonight, because EMDR does that. It's you remove the trauma from your body. You recreate the neural pathways. It's an eye movement.
Yep.
Binaural brain process to re-trigger the brain to feel it, because that's the thing that
you have to refill
it and continue.
It can be very hard.
It is.
It was the worst and hardest year of my life in our marriage, like truly. And I'm not afraid to say that because we got through it, but it was very challenging. Like there was like months on end where I would not allow Dill to touch me, like just multiple panic attacks, like literally almost throwing my whole life away, thinking that I'm a lesbian and I can't be with a man because, you know, I'm never going to be able to love a man the way that I feel like I should. And my sexuality was always something that I had questioned because of my childhood trauma. Like maybe I'm supposed to be with a woman. Maybe I can't be with a man because like I'm never just going to allow myself to be loved by a man because fuck men and like all this, you know, again, daddy issues. And so like just things that like.
I also think that we as humans put labels on everything.
Oh, yeah, of course.
If we really connect to energies, like if you're open to energies, that it doesn't really matter if it's male or female.
Yeah, like I
our
love women.
souls are connected
Yeah.
to energies, and you know, you can be attracted. So I think that as we like move through this, like it's just so much easier to just be like, yeah, we're energy people and we love who we love.
Yep.
And just like have freedom in that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like
But also I wanted to say, because EMDR, back to that, because I kind of got like a little sidetracked there. But with breath work, the beautiful thing about breath work is what's happening is, and I was talking about this to the two girls at breathwork, is after breathwork today, is that everybody thinks that our trauma lies in our mind and that we have to reprogram just our mind. But the thing is here is that the trauma is actually in our bodies, and it's our bodies that trigger our mind. So when you do practices like breath work and you let the mind shut off and you allow the body's innate intelligence, because we are healing machines, we have everything that we need to heal us inside of our bodies, that's how we were created, that if you do practices like breath work, that EMDR can be a lot easier and maybe even avoided in some way, because it really is just pushing it out of your body.
Yeah.
So if you are having a really hard time with EMDR and are in that process, that breathwork might be a tool, not saying to stop EMDR, but to kind of
get you through that last little bit.
Really get it out of your body, because that's where it's lying and that's where it's stored. Our issues lie in our tissues. So when we give our mind a break, and that's what the somatic breath, the breathing through the mouth does, is it shuts the mind off, allows the body to take over. And you have these physical releases where there's tension everywhere. Your hands claw up, you tension up, you want to shake, you want to do all these things because the body's taking over and it is releasing the stuck, stored energy, the traumatic, and you're able to reprogram it while you're in there during these breath practices with the music, with the coaching, the hypno breath work. It's transformational. A hypno breath work is really what's happening in these practices, and that's what Taylor does. So if you're in EMDR or thinking about EMDR and have been fearful, because it's hard work, it's a dedication, it's, there is an end goal. So that's the best part about EMDR, where it's not like therapy. It gets
really dark. It gets very dark.
And it's not like therapy where there's no end goal, where you're just going to go and fucking talk to a therapist every week and just
Which I had done years of talk therapy and nothing ever worked. And like finally I was like, no, I'm going to give up. And then boom, found Brecken, and she was just a godsend. Now I send everyone to her, and now she's like, yeah, you know how many people you've sent to me? I'm like, yeah, you could just write me a check.
Literally.
No, but I would be happy and glad to. And I'll always continue to send people to her because she really did. She changed our marriage. She changed my life. And then also, like, when I found breathwork, that was like, boom. Like, I knew when we did breathwork that night with Megan, this is it for me. Like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm passionate about. Holy fuck, I cannot believe that this is something that has been at my fingertips and I've never been willing to try it. And like,
because I had been doing it for like 2 years.
But like the relief that I had felt immediately, the natural high that I had felt, how like powerful I felt. I can't even explain it. Like, I was like, this is what I'm going to give to people. How fucking cool. And I had a breakthrough that I hadn't had in a really long time. Like, I had a couple breakthroughs in EMDR that were like beautiful, but not on the level that like breath work really gets you, because you get to a point where you don't have a choice. Like your body literally just breaks down. Like it either breaks down for you or, you just continue through. So yeah, breathwork was beautiful. And I think that's like truly what changed it all for me. And then obviously just our girls' weekend, going away and knowing that this is like where my heart lies, and being in this area. Like I'd moved away from the makeup and that part of it. And I think makeup was a creative outlet for me for so long, but it was also my mask. And this year I'm really focusing on self-love and learning to like truly love every single part of myself, and all my flaws. And so I think I wanted to naturally just step away from makeup, and then it just didn't feel aligned with who I was. And so that's why a lot of people have been asking me if I'm going to still do wedding makeup, and I'm just not sure. I love it so much, and I just don't think that it aligns with where I'm going. And that's okay. Like, I'll still do like friends of friends and stuff like that, but I'm just not going to grow my business. It's not part of my mission or my passion.
Well, it's so important to give people permission for that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you might have had a career path. It's like me going to hair school. I thought I was going to be a hairdresser, and then working in treatment, and then shifting. We're allowed to do that. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to have a passion at one point in your life, and you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want to do, and who the fuck cares what other people think, because this is your life.
Yeah.
It's your life. We're amazing. You are
and
amazing
I'm just
at
so,
makeup.
like, multi-passionate.
Yeah, you're allowed
like,
to be
I love a
multi-passionate.
lot of things. Like, if you asked me what I wanted to do, like, when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a radio talk show host, which here I am now. I'm a podcast host, but
And
like
a breathwork teacher.
Yeah, I wanted to be like all these things, and now here I am. In my life, I've done like a little bit of everything that I've said I've always wanted to do. And I think that's just so beautiful. Like, we all go through seasons of life, and makeup served a purpose. Like, that was what I did at home. I made an income at home, like being able to be home with my kids, which was fucking amazing. Like, I was literally making like a ton of money a month at home with my babies, and it served its purpose for a little while. And then we got into a financial position where, I never really needed to help Dill anyways. We're very blessed in that aspect. Like, he is the provider in our home, and I couldn't be more grateful. But which, again, another thing I thought I didn't want but actually wanted. I told Dill when I met him, like, there's no fucking way I'm having kids. And he told me like, well, it's not going to work unless you give me a baby before I turn 30, because I definitely want kids, and you're going to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm going to work and I'm going to provide. And I was just like, this dude's out of his fucking mind. Like, absolutely not. Like, I am not stay-at-home mom material. I don't even fucking want kids. Like, nope. And now here we are. Life turned out exactly how it's supposed to. And I think the biggest message that I want to give to it, like in a marriage and in a relationship, is that I feel like so many people say that you have to love yourself in order to love others. And while I do think that is true, I think it's also true that someone can love you enough for you to learn how to love yourself. And that's exactly what Dill did for me. He loved me enough for the both of us. So while I was figuring my shit out and learning to love myself, he just like carried me through that process. And I think that's like what's so beautiful about our relationship, is that he's never once given up on the potential of us, because like we're 7 years into our relationship. Like, we have fucking years to go, you know, and the potential of that and the beauty of that is what like keeps us grounded, and there's just no other option for us. So yeah, I can't wait to have Dill on here. We talked about it the other night, and he was like, I hope you can just sit and actually listen though, babe, and not feel attacked or get defensive. And I was like, nope, like, I'm going to let you have your time, and I won't judge what you say. And I think that a lot of people need to hear it, because I think those the ones behind the scenes go unnoticed, and he plays a huge role in all of this. So I really want you guys to hear his input, and I think it'll be beautiful. But yeah, now I'm just like on the most epic journey with my best friend, my husband, my mom. My mom's been doing all the things with me, and we've been healing together and like healing our relationship.
Love your mom.
It's just been like, it's been
I
epic.
love Dill too. Dill actually has 2 wives.
Yeah, he does.
He really embraces it, actually.
He does.
He embraces the fact that he has 2 wives.
He really does. So yeah.
Yeah, he embraces. It's 10-10. So
all the things.
I also want to say too, because, early on in recovery for me too, I didn't really have a relationship. I was kind of like in and out, and I had to be a mom. I had to be a mom newly sober and figure that out. And I was really so blessed and so grateful with such powerful, strong women. Some of the relationships I still have today, some of the relationships that I don't have, but I had for a really long time, that really supported me through that time of my life and really leaned in. And obviously, like, I was not a saint. I was a bartender in my first year of sobriety, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I had dated a bunch of people. Like, I wasn't just like celibate, like being fucking Virgin Mary or anything. We're not gonna act like that. I was a stripper in sobriety. My first couple years of sobriety, I went back to the club to do all of that. So, but I really I built a community of strong women to lean on in that time. And I had Kaylin, and I had Lindsay, and I had all these people that and soulmates can be in female form, and so when you make that connection, power couples, Taylor and I are 100% a power couple, and there's no rules. Rules are made up. And I'm grateful for every relationship that I had in those times. I'm grateful for my ex-husband, because he supported me through EMDR and all of that, and the birth of our beautiful children, and supporting me as a mom, and doing all of these things. Like, there was so much beautiful parts and pieces in all of it, and creating children, and getting through really hard times and struggles, and also not just focusing on the bad stuff, but just knowing that the feelings and the things, and it's okay for people to grow apart, but still be so grateful for every part of the journey that they had a piece of, right? Just give your vulnerability to somebody, so you can, still love somebody, but really fall out of love, and know that you share children and share a path, and there's forgiveness and all of that. Yeah. So it's so beautiful that, there's both sides of the story here for people to just like relate and,
absolutely,
and realize it's not going to be perfect, and you're reparenting yourself. So parenting is really hard and really challenging at any point. There is no it doesn't matter if you have addiction or reached out that way. Like, you still have trauma, you still have shit that wasn't great in your life, and now you have these little people that you're responsible for, and you want to give everything
you have to
to
regulate
them.
your emotions, and you have no idea how to regulate your emotions, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
And you lose your mind, and you make mistakes, and you do the things. And the biggest part for me is when we were kids and these things were happening, we were never apologized for. It was like, shut up.
Yeah.
You were wrong. I'm big. You're little. You know, those kinds of things.
Because I said so.
Yeah, because
you know?
I said so. Or you're crying, and it's like, do you want me to give you something to cry about? Like, really fucked up responses to our emotions.
Or like, you're weak. Stop crying. It's weak.
Stop crying. Stop crying. Don't feel that way. Suck it up. You know, whatever. Go in your room and deal with your emotions by yourself. So a lot of our generation don't know how to re-regulate our emotions. So we have to parent ourselves as we're parenting
Our children.
and trying to know what's better, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. There's so much information out there. There's so many things, and you never know what's right or what's wrong, or take them to school, or get vaccinated or don't get vaccinated, or red dyes, and like all of these rules and regulations. But just really trust yourself and find some people that you can be vulnerably honest with, because parenting fucking sucks, and there is no handbook, and it's really hard, but it's really beautiful. But you're not alone if you're really just, you know, feeling lost or not feeling connected. That's why we need community. That's why we are building what we're building with the women's circles, what's happening here in Sacred Moon, what's happening here during the app.
Yep.
We need community. And I was talking to somebody about it. I don't know, because I have these conversations all the time, but it's like, think about even alcoholics, right? They go to a bar because there's a community there, because you have regulars and there's a bartender, and you see, and you're having a social hour. So if you were an alcoholic and you were going to a bar and you had regular people that you saw and the bartender that you saw, when you remove yourself from those situations, you need to find a replacement for that, because really at the end of the day, you just want to be a part of something.
You just want connection.
So you have to find that somewhere else. You have to find that in, preferably you find it in a community that's uplifting and building and healing, because that's where you're going to find the most relief. So that's where we really open up to inviting you to join a community, create a community. If you're listening to our podcast and you're not in our area, we have a handout where you can do the women's circles. Taylor, if you want to start a podcast, Taylor's a podcast queen. I'm sure there's a million people that have reached out to me that ask, and I'm always like, Taylor's a tech queen. We'll gladly help you set up a podcast and answer any questions that you want to do.
Your voice matters, and it needs to be heard.
We are here to empower you. We are here to be vulnerable, have these hard conversations, say our inner turmoil, say the things that we maybe hold shame or blame or guilt for, because we want to show you that there's a way out and you're not alone, and join us or create, join one or create the one, because that's what you do with 12-step. You create, one of my favorite things was create the fellowship that you seek.
Can't find it, you create it.
Yeah. And if you build it, they will come.
Yes,
and great things will come. And great things take time.
That's right.
It's not going to happen overnight. There's not going to be instant gratification, because that's what a lot of us want. We just want to, we think that we're going to put this thing out there. There are so many times where there's times where nobody signs up for my classes. Still, I've been doing this shit for I've had a studio for 4 years, and there's still times where nobody will sign up for my classes. You want to know what I do? I keep coming. I find a different schedule. You build it, they will come. And then there's some of my classes that are sold out and people are begging me to get on the wait list. It's don't have these ideas of yourself that you're just going to be this amazing thing and it's just going to happen overnight. Our podcast, some of our episodes get, 500, some of our episodes get 1,200. We're not going to stop because that one episode got 500 views. Who the fuck cares? Yeah. We're going to keep it moving, keep it going, keep building and creating.
That's just it. If you remove yourself from the numbers and the outcomes, things flourish, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah. There's hope, so much hope. So we'll end it with that. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Expel all the energy out, really push it out. And then inhale through the nose, fill up, lift up, rise up. Hold it at the top just for a second. Feel your power, and then exhale through the mouth. Surrender, let it go. Bye, y'all. Oh, love you guys. Check out the newsletter, because the Revive event, we forgot to talk about it. The Revive event, February 10th, we are having a murder mystery dinner. please check out your newsletter. There's links to the Bufo retreat that we're having
And
in
a
Tulum,
price
Mexico.
drop. So we had a good price drop for the fundraiser event. Mm-hmm. So it's $65 a ticket, and now you can get 2 for $125.
Yes. And there's sponsorships availability, and it's not just people in recovery. If you have a company and you really want to just sponsor the event,
Yep.
and or something that you want to donate, service, massage, any service that you want to donate for the raffle table, it's going to be so fun. There's going to be charcuterie boards and cupcakes and actors, and you get to dress like 1920s. So that's for Revive.
So fun.
In this,
I can't wait.
And what we're using this money specifically for is to help our youth program. So we have a youth program inside of Revive specifically for young people who are affected by addiction, whether themselves or family members. So we're going to use this money for extra allocations directly for that program. So please, please, please reach out to us if you have any questions about that. And also there's a link to the Mexico Bufo retreat that Jessica and I are doing in Tulum the first week of March. Super excited about that.
It's going to be epic.
It's going to be epic.
Epic things. We just do epic shit. Epic shit, guys.
So fucking grateful for our lives. Just keep shining. Don't let
Yes,
this world dim your light.
We love you guys so much. Thanks for listening.
Love you. Bye.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.